generation and our relationship with God. So Peter, take the pulpit.
All right, good morning and happy Sunday. It's really great to see so many people here. And so, as Father D said, my name is Pete Mills. I go with Mr. Mills to many of my students. I have a student actually in the front row that I'm sure I'll pick on at some point.
Yes.
But I really love being here. This is my second year in the classroom, and I just want to say thanks for being here. And although it's hard to believe this about me now, at one time when I was much younger, I didn't talk very much. In fact, from the ages of 3 to 6, my words were very limited. And much of my time was spent watching the world with an underlying sense of wonder that sometimes came across as what one might call aloofness. Nevertheless, as my mother often explains, those years, she believes, must have been spent tallying up all sorts of questions and curiosities, because at some time around the age of 7, they poured out of me without barrier. For years after, my favorite sentence starter was why. Since then, and with what I hope is much perspective, I've come to realize that this curiosity, this wonderment of the world, is a characteristic of all children. As I'm waiting to this day to meet a child without at least 100 questions at the ready. In considering this, I was reminded of a passage I read once, and we read just a few minutes ago, hidden away in the Gospel of Mark. During one of Jesus' journeys through Judea, teaching to the crowds who would congregate, children would come before him and ask to be touched. So family members would bring their children, and they would ask for this man of miracles to bless their heads. The disciples were bothered by this, and they told him to end this practice. Yet when Jesus saw this, Mark writes, he was indignant and said to them, "Let the children come to me. Do not hinder them, for to such belongs the kingdom of God. Truly I say to you, whoever does not receive the kingdom of God like a child shall not enter it." In reflecting on this passage, I ask, to whom does the kingdom belong? When I first moved down to the Delta, it was for training in rural Mississippi, specifically teaching at a summer school in Whitman County. Surrounded by cotton, along with a deep history of poverty and hardship, I saw this time as a chance to learn how to teach. Yet, while I like to think I accomplished this there, I learned much more than I intended. One of my students that summer was a young girl who was both one of my hardest students and most intelligent. After a couple of weeks of challenging her to be more and do more, I couldn't get her to do anything, and so in a moment of desperation, without anything more to say, I simply said, "Tanisha, I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you." As though it was yesterday, I could see her tears, their salt falling from her eyes and her silence. I later learned that Tanisha hadn't known her father. He left her mother when she was a baby. She never had a single male in her life tell and show her that he believed in her. Those words, while meaningful on the surface, pierced her heart far deeper than I had anticipated or could have ever realized. They changed her. When I consider that experience, and I reflect upon the past year in the classroom, I'm left with one very strong belief about children. There is no limit to their potential. There is no limit to the depth of empathy they show and can show for each other. No limit to their wonder of this world and how it works. No limit to their focus when inspired and motivated. No limit to their dreams and aspirations. No limit to the love they hold inside. No limit. When I was a child, my favorite story from the New Testament, the one I'd have my father tell me many times, was about the young Jesus in the temple at Jerusalem. Joseph and Mary brought him along to the feast of Passover and realized upon leaving that he was not with them. After returning to find him, they discovered that their 12-year-old son spent 3 days living in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them, and asking them questions. For 3 days, this boy, almost as old as the students I teach, demonstrated a level of inquiry, curiosity, and understanding that was unbelievable to those same teachers with whom he stayed. Every day, I see glimpses, and sometimes even full demonstrations of that same intellectual joy. I see my students fall completely into the beautiful embrace of learning and education. Every day, I see the fires within children light and burn. I see their worlds change with a question, with a new and fluid understanding of things. I see their unbridled hope for the things to come, and their resilience in the face of that which has already occurred. And it is in those times that the classroom seems to fill with a level of spirituality I've rarely felt. It is in those times that whatever hardships of this world, whatever failings and shortcomings, fade away. And in their place enters joy and grace. It reminds me that children walk each day so close to the side of God, so close that our responsibility to Him cannot and must not ever waver. For such belongs the kingdom of God, itself within their hearts, and shown each day through their incredible capacity and their incredible potential.